Hey everyone, it's Steven from Toastamac and welcome to another live stream. Hope your evening's going well. And I already see Miss Sharon Starkey there. Hey, how's it going? So, just gonna give a few minutes in case some people show up a little bit later and then we'll go and get started. I know this is a little bit later than what I usually do, but I had to do some things. Um, Like, I had to run some errands this morning. As you can see, I got a haircut and I got the shave because that was long overdue. I also made the promotional video for the upcoming Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove giveaway live stream. And I gotta say, that was a result of a last minute change actually, because originally I planned something else. Like, I was gonna be in the video given the promotion, but when David thankfully sent me the images I needed, I had a brain blast. I was like, wait a minute, the way I'm doing it right now looks corny as heck. Why not do it this way instead? So sorry, I'm still getting over congestion problems. So what I did for that video, it was a last minute pivot to what it is now, and I gotta say I'm really happy that it came out the way it did. It looks very nice, very something that really pops out to you, and probably something I could show off on a portfolio. Maybe I should put that on my portfolio website. So I'm really happy with it, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend doing so. You just go to my channel, see what the latest video was, and boom, there it is. Now, in terms of the update on the Mediterranean diet, I don't really have too much of an update right now because I've kind of been experimenting with kind of expanding my diet a little bit. Because while I'm making good progress, my diet right now is just really just a small group of foods. Because with the Mediterranean diet, there's not really that many restrictions per se. But with that being said, it can be hard to stick with it unless you have like a routine or a schedule. But right now, what I'm doing is I need to kind of expand my diet, kind of see what else I can make. So I'm not really sure if I lost any weight this week. Maybe I'll find out in a couple days, but still. So, the important thing is to make sure the weight doesn't go any higher, because I got a couple trips planning coming up, in like one in October and one in November. So that way, I got to keep the weight as low as possible, because I know during those trips I'm probably going to eat all kinds of stuff. So I don't want to be gaining all that weight back. And it's not like you just take one bite and then it's all back. No, that's not how it works, thankfully. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started with today's topic, and that is about masking and how it makes me feel. Now, if you're in the autistic community, you probably have heard of the term once or twice, but let me pull up the definition in case anyone doesn't know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but just want to look for the terminology. There we go. So, the term autism masking is used to describe behaviors used by people with ASD to suppress or hide the signature characteristics of the disorder. It could also mean mirroring the behavior of neurotypical people and developing scripts that work in social situations. So that is the terminology, or what it means for autistic people to mask. And I'm not talking about the COVID mask either. Sharon Starkey says many, many times. Yeah. And it's one of the big topics out there. And while I've heard about it, I didn't really experience it myself until more recent years. Like, when I first heard of the term masking a while back, I never thought I had the need for it. Like, it's really bad that people can't be themselves, and it's still bad that people can't be themselves. So, like, I didn't really think too much of it because I didn't think I would need it. Because, like, back in the college days and back during, like, my full-time jobs back in the day, I didn't feel like I had to mask or pretend to be someone or something I was not. What you see is what you would get. for better or worse. Big topic, especially for girls. Yeah, I can see that because usually girls and women are more socially aware or like, socially adaptive more so than boys or men because like in terms of like fashions or trends, usually girls and women in general are usually more on top of those things, whereas the males don't really pay too much attention to it that much. So yeah, I can see that. So usually with me, it's like what you see is what you would get. And some days I have my good days, some days I have my bad days. We're not all perfect, and it's impossible to be happy every single day, even if some people expect you to. So, now the reason I developed a need for it, well, I'm not sure if I really want to say need as an appropriate word. Um, but I guess there's really no other way to put it. Like it's unfortunate necessity, for lack of a better explanation. So, here is why I saw the unfortunate necessity to use masking in recent years. As some of you may know, me and my family moved here to Colorado in about like 2019, looking for like new possibilities, new friendships, new all sorts of stuff. But as you may know, 2019 was the year before the pandemic came around. And, even to this day, we still feel the impact of the COVID pandemic. Yes, we're not wearing the face masks anymore. Yes, we don't have to worry about keeping 6 feet apart from each other. That much is true. But you really still feel the aftermath of what the pandemic has done, not just to like a neighborhood or like a state or even a country for that matter, but society as a whole. Because the world did not experience something like the COVID pandemic in over 100 years, not since the Spanish flu. So, like, this was something that a lot of us were not really prepared for. Just gotta send a quick text to Thomas. There we go. Anyway, because, like, what happened was that, or I should explain why it's affected us, because human beings, whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent, we are social creatures by nature. We want some kind of interaction with people. And I'm not just talking about like online chats or like live streams like this. I'm talking about actually going to places, actually meeting people face to face, shaking their hands, having a conversation, kid around with each other, stuff like that. But with the pandemic, it really took a lot of that away. We were isolated. We were alone. We weren't getting the necessary interactions that we needed. And it wasn't just like back home or outside of work. It was inside at work that you felt a lot of it too. That, people were misbehaving, for lack of a better terminology. That's just to put it lightly. Like you see adults acting like children or just acting so entitled like the world revolves around them. So people, a lot of people had gotten more rude, if not, self-entitled or disrespectful. And like I feel like a lot of it has to do with, with the pandemic, because nobody likes having more rules put on them, and some people feel the need to take it out on other people even if they don't deserve it. So for the couple of years during the pandemic, 2020 to 2022, it's been rough for everybody. Me, my friends and family, everybody, because we were all going through it together. So the pandemic part is basically over now. Like, at least we know what to do with it now. But you still feel the aftermath. And I feel like it's because of that aftermath that I felt the unfortunate necessity to mask while at work. And no, I'm not talking about the COVID mask. I'm talking about the autistic masking. Because, I should probably rewind back a little bit because my workplace wasn't always like that. When I first went there were a lot of associates that were like having conversations with each other. We would chat about stuff. We would have each other's backs. And even the customers were nice to talk to. Like, I remember a couple of stories from some veterans as customers. One of them had talked about their experience under a submarine. No, inside a submarine, not under a submarine. Please don't take that out of context. And it's like I couldn't imagine myself, being in a submarine and just listening to this veteran like talking about his experience in one of those. It felt surreal. It was like he was painting a picture with his words, and I was starting to visualize his story. And then there was another veteran that talked about when he was in Germany when the Berlin Wall fell. Like, he was actually there when a piece of history was in the making. He was describing it as a surreal experience, like a wall between two worlds finally coming down, being in the crowd, hearing the cheers as the Berlin Wall crumbled. And I was so fascinated with that. And there were like a few other stories and like a few funny moments here and there, and it was good. It was really good. But during the pandemic, or like during when the pandemic began and a couple years that followed, the mentality or like the atmosphere with the customers there began to change. Soon there was like little to no stories. There were like no recollections of big moments or like, people being nice. You see people like, very frustrated, keeping to themselves, not wanting to talk to people, just telling them, just needs an associate to tell them where they need to go or whether or not there's a discount there, just get their stuff and go. And unfortunately, that mentality hasn't really gone away with where I worked at, And the worst part is like this environment, I felt like it really got worse and worse all the time. Because like a lot of the coworkers that I used to work with are basically gone. They've moved to other places, found other opportunities, better opportunities. Like there was a friend of mine, which God, I feel so weird to say that in a workplace now. There was this friend, like, we would make jokes about like Star Wars and Mark Hamill's lightsaber and Chewbacca and stuff like that, just get on each other's nerves in a friendly way. But last year or earlier this year, he moved to a different state. In part because of another job opportunity, but also because he actually wanted to get away from a group that he didn't exactly agree with, And, that's for the best. That's for the best. And another one left, again, money opportunities and finding, a new place to work at, new opportunities, And this other friend, I still keep in touch with her sometimes, but she has a lot of things going on right now. But it's probably better than, what she had to put up with at, my workplace. So a lot of the familiar faces there are gone. And a lot of the new coworkers, I'm just going to say it right now, it's just like, they don't really interact with me that much, They'd rather talk amongst themselves, have little chats while I'm doing the work. And we've also had new management. And whether you work at the workplace or not, you feel that there is this this gap, this disconnection between the managers and the workers. And that's really unfortunate, because when you have a disconnection between the workers and the managers, then ultimately nothing really gets done. But, I'm getting off topic, but the point is, like, the environment's changed. Like, a lot of the familiar faces that I didn't know are gone. It's replaced with a lot of new faces that, they have their own things to do rather than, interacting with me. Meanwhile, I'm left with, all kinds of people there. Like, there are some that are drug addicts. There are some that, would rather look at the apron rather than the person unless they got a problem. And, there are there are other kinds of people that I'd rather not be around. So that became the reason for masking. And I know that, for a lot of people, when they think about masking, kind of like with the definition term that I just read, that it's meant to like blend in with society or mirror the actions of other neurotypicals around them, to kind of blend in or fit in. But for me, my masking is kind of the opposite. It's not to blend in with a group. Like, I don't really, like, if I fit in with a group, then okay, that's fine. But if the group of people in question are so different than me that I have to make such an extreme effort just to fit in, then I'm not going to. It's not worth it. So for me, my reason that I mask is to keep people away, not to blend in. So what I would usually do is, just stay silent. Just keep quiet, only speak when I, need to communicate with them or ask them questions about, like, do you want to apply for a Home Depot account? Do you want to apply for this protection plan? Are you aware that these pieces are different from each other? Stuff like that. Just keep the conversations to a minimum unless, if the customer wants to have a conversation. Like, there are still a few customers here and there that, I actually, get along with and actually have a nice conversation with them. So it's not like it's all bad. There's still some people that I get along with well and have conversations with them. So it's like, if they want to have a conversation, sure, we can have a conversation. But I'm at a point where I'm not going to go out of my way to force a conversation out of somebody. If they don't want to talk, then that's okay. They can just get their stuff and go on their way. And, sorry, it's like, this is kind of, it's kind of a big topic for me, as I'm thinking about this. Because, like, I think it's because of this that I actually considered, going to a therapist about it. Because while this masking feels like a necessity at work, it doesn't exactly feel good, because, what I'm portraying during that masking, it feels so different than who I actually am. And again, it's a necessity to keep the wrong people away, because you don't need every single person to acknowledge you. Only those that see your value. Only those that see your value are those that matter to you. So the reason why this masking is difficult for me, and kind of why I'm stuttering and hesitating right now. Sharon says, why would you force a conversation? That isn't masking. That is normal behavior. Well, it's like in the earlier years of working at this workplace in Colorado, I would kind of give subtle hints like, how's it going? Anything going all right? To kind of give a subtle cue to say, hello, I want to have a conversation. I'm not a machine, I'm a human being, not just an apron. But it's like I would try to encourage a conversation I would try to heavily encourage a conversation, for lack of a better explanation. So I guess that's what I mean by force the conversation, like trying to get something out of the customers. But, again, some people just don't want to talk. But going back to masking, why this is difficult for me is because it feels so different than who I am. As I mentioned, it's an unfortunate necessity, emphasis on unfortunate, because I don't really feel like that's the kind of person I am, or rather the kind of person I should be. That for those who watch my YouTube channel, like when you see my autism videos, when you look at the skits or like the YouTube shorts or like any other video I've done on this channel, that's really me. That's not me faking it. That is who I actually am. When you see me getting excited or passionate in a video, that's who I really am. When you see me like thinking about stuff, when you see me just playing along with green screen effects or like hearing my voice acting in Star Fox Event Horizon, that's me. That is me. That is someone who is creative, passionate, and happy about what they do and happy to help people. That's who I am. But like when I'm masking, it feels like I'm this, blank person with no drive or, feelings or anything like that, just for the sake of keeping people away. And it's like, when you think about experience with masking, one thing you have to consider, actually two things you have to consider. One is there was a line from a movie, V for Vendetta, and it kind of stuck to me when one of the characters said, "You wear a mask for so long, you forget who you are beneath it." And, like, my worry is like, if I mask at work for too long, then, how much of that is going to kind of interrupt my other routine, like outside of work? How is that going to affect me when, I'm talking to like a neighbor or like going to an event or like, just even going to a grocery store, I try my best not to let the masking affect me when my apron is off because like, that's a different environment. That's a different setting. I don't have to worry about masking outside of work. At least I hope I don't. And the second thing to consider is when you are masking or pretending to be someone you're not, then what does that say about your actions while you're wearing the mask? Like, I had to actually think about this. Like, when I'm doing masking, like, which side of me is real? Which side of me is fake? And, as much as I'd like to say that, the times when I mask, that's my fake side, like, I would like to say that, but, what does that mean for the actions done while I was wearing the mask? That they didn't happen? That it was just a figment of someone's imagination? Or that while the actions happened that I didn't mean it because I was wearing a mask? No, that's not how it works. Because, like, whether you're wearing a mask or you're not wearing a mask, and again, not the COVID mask, I'm talking about autistic masking, whether you're doing the masking or not, it doesn't change the fact that whatever actions happened, whether you were masking or not, did happen. You can't change that. Like, there were times that, I'm not afraid to admit, I've made my fair share of mistakes at work. There were times I made someone angry, or maybe sometimes that, I may have said something wrong, but, like, it's not like I could just take it back or not always take it back, because sometimes you can apologize and vow to do better, which I try to do. But it's like you can't always take it back, and you can't just pretend that it never happened. Because if you pretend something bad never happened, then you're not going to learn from it. Throughout life, you'll find that you can learn a lot more from the bad times, your failures, your mistakes, than if you were to just look at the good times. Because if something good happens, you would just enjoy the moment. But when something bad happens, when you make a mistake or something goes wrong, you usually spend more time thinking about it. Like, okay, what went wrong? How could it have been better? See, and that was kind of like part of what I was struggling with. Like, you know, forgetting who you are beneath the mask, and also being aware that whether you mask or not, actions do happen, and you can't pretend that they didn't happen, whether you want to admit it or not. So those are a couple struggles I have with, masking. And the one other uh, the one other big issue I have with my experience with masking is, while I'm masking, I'm kind of keeping my anger and frustration inside, to make sure. And the reason I keep it inside while I'm masking is because I don't want to take it out on the wrong person. And there were a few times where I took my frustration out on someone and ultimately they didn't deserve it. And like, that's one of the big things I'm worried about, that I take it out, that I take my frustration out or say the wrong thing to someone who didn't ultimately deserve it. So, and it's like, the issue is, the more you hold in that anger and frustration, the harder it becomes to keep it all in. So like, what would happen is, when I get home, rather than working on stuff or playing some games, I would like vent out my frustration by thinking about different kinds of scenarios. And while I'm dealing with that frustration, I'm not really getting anything done. So, and it's like, this is like one of the big reasons that, I haven't really put therapy out of the question. And, I'm kind of nervous about going to a therapy session, because, like, not all therapists are going to have the same solution, and some advice from a therapist may make something worse rather than make something better. Um, so it's like, do I take what the therapist says at face value? Do I dispute or like have an argument with a therapist? Like, what if I don't like what they're saying, or maybe they're getting the wrong idea? I don't know. So like, I've never been to a therapist before, and it's just, I'm kind of nervous as to, like, like, I've already faced enough of um my own personal thoughts and some of my personal actions as it is. It's like, when you go to a therapist, this stranger, and be open about, stuff like this, what are they going to say, And I know it's like a therapist's job to, like, listen and give advice, but, like, you have to also consider that a therapist, much like a cashier or any other job, is a human being. They're going to have their own thoughts, their own beliefs, and you're going to have your own thoughts and your own beliefs, and there's this good chance that you two might not agree. And it's like, part of it's about like finding the right person, but also, taking cost into account, Like, I talked to my manager about, like, I talked to one of the managers saying, hey, I'm not really feeling that good mentally, I'm not really feeling 100%, I'm feeling down, I feel like I need to talk to a therapist. And she gave me a resource to look up to see if I could find a therapist. I just need to figure out how their system works, Sharon says, it's important to find a therapist experienced with autism. Well, that is true. That is true. it would be good to find a therapist who knows about autism, before they get into it. But I feel like, the most important thing is finding the right therapist for you. And the first therapist might not be the best therapist. Maybe you have to go to 2 or 3 or 5. And it's like, you also got to think of cost into account, because like I have no idea how much it would cost to go see a therapist. So with that in mind, that was my phone vibrating. You know, I've been trying to handle this, by myself. And, just let out my frustration in a safe, controlled environment, deal with it and just move on to the next day. And, taking some time to really talk about this. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely hard. Like you're seeing my eyes going all over the place, but it's like, when you're talking about something, talking about a hardship that you're going through, it it's not easy, because like you really need to take time to self-reflect and, figure out what is wrong and really what needs to be done. So, and it's like, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live stream talking about masking is, to kind of vent out my frustration with the situation about masking, with, say, my own experience. To give my own take on it, if you will. And I guess the other thing was, like, I didn't know whether or not that, and this is going to sound a little weird. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to sound a little weird. One of the things I've been debating is whether or not, it's not exactly whether or not whether or not to do a video about autism and masking and how it affects autistic people, but rather whether or not I had the right to, make a video about masking in the first place. Because, like, the last thing, like, the worst thing I would want to happen, or the one thing I don't want to happen is, to be seen as a hypocrite, telling people, don't do this thing, meanwhile I'm doing this one thing I'm telling you not to do, So, it's like, I've been debating whether or not I even had the right to, talk about masking. So what I did was I posted on the Facebook groups I'm in, asking, like, doing a poll on, like, should I do a video about autism and masking, or should I not, considering the fact that I still mask, do the masking at work. And surprisingly, the Facebook groups, the results from the Facebook groups was an overwhelming yes. Which was, it caught me off guard. I was surprised. But it's like some of them were mentioning that masking is not all bad, or it's like a necessity in some situations. They were even talking about their own experience with masking. And, a few people were saying, just do the video, dude. And what really stuck out to me was when some people said they would rather listen to someone who has actually had experience with masking rather than some golden boy who does everything perfect. And they want to, like, some people actually want to learn from someone who's actually experienced masking firsthand rather than someone just talking about it, So, Mari Gamer here. Hey, how's it going? Daniela Pistone here. I'm so late in the hospital. Is that where you work at the hospital? You pulling a late night shift? But, either way, it's really good to see you. And it's like, I know we're like kind of getting a little bit close towards the end, maybe still want to talk about it a few more minutes because, um, in recent years, masking has become a very big topic for me personally. So, um, yeah, what was I doing? Yes, yes. Oh, your husband said, oh no. Oh, sorry to hear that. Like, I mean, if you guys are in the hospital, I can't imagine. I can't imagine it being too good. Like, are things getting better or like are things getting worse? I mean, if you don't mind answering, if you don't want to answer, that is perfectly okay. Um, so and it's like I was really surprised to hear that, some people would want me to do a video on this. Um, um, what was I saying? Oh, now I remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got so deep into the conversation about masking, I completely forgot. You were from the one of the Facebook groups. Hey, yeah, thanks for dropping by. I hope your husband feels better. Um, but it's like hearing that people would want to hear from those who actually experienced it rather than some golden boy or perfect boy. Deep down it kind of reassures me, that people would actually want to hear from my experience and would like me to talk about this topic. So, um, oh, 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 sick from that. Oh dear. Can't imagine that being easy. But yeah, I really hope things get better for the two of you. Um, so it's like what I want to do with the video about, how masking affects autistic people is a couple things. One is you're probably not going to see the video until November because in October coming up, I already have a couple of autism topics to do already, which is like the second week of October, which would be just gonna check real quick. There we go. So October 14th is gonna be the autism video where I talk about why ableism is bad and like, maybe some tips on how to stop ableism. So that's gonna be on October 24th. And then on October 28th, I'm actually going to revisit an older autism topic, and that is, some tips on how to help autistic people enjoy a good time during Halloween, particularly during trick-or-treating, because there are some do's or don'ts about trick-or-treating that, I want to revisit that topic, give it an update. Maybe there's some information there that was not there when I made the initial video a few years ago. So I don't want it to be like a serious topic and then another serious topic afterwards. I don't want the mood to be all down and stuff. Like, I want to do the serious video about ableism first and then switch it up with something fun, talking about tips for Halloween on the 28th. And then on November the 11th, that is when I plan to do the video about masking. So that way it gives me time to cover the topics I want to cover, but it also helps me divvy up the autism videos in a way. Oh hey Chi, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Um it also helps me divvy up the autism videos in a way where it's not always so serious all the time, that there are some fun things to look forward to. So that is what I plan to do for future autism videos within the next couple months anyway. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do in December yet. I haven't really planned that far ahead. So I know we're getting close to the end, but Mary and Chi, since you're here, I do have a question. I usually do the live streams every Friday at 6 p.m. So, what I'm curious about is, would 6 p.m. still work, or does 6:30 work better? Because, like, for the live streams, I only go about, like, 30 minutes. Like, I've actually should have wrapped up around, like, 12 minutes ago. But it's like, I really wanted to talk about my experience with masking, not only to, like, let out some frustration, but maybe someone will gain something, or maybe relate to my experience with masking. I want to learn about how masking affects ASD. Yeah, so I'm going to do some research on that, and hopefully have a good video on that during the month of November. So that is basically my plan, and I think now is a good time to go ahead and start wrapping up. So, sorry, sore throat. Let me get a drink first. Ugh, much better. So anyway, I do want to thank everyone for, taking time to watch this stream. I know this was a little deep and a little heavy in terms of, like, the topic to talk about, but I think that is one of the joys or benefits of doing live streams like these instead of, like, the gaming live streams I used to do on Twitch, is, like, with the YouTube live stream setup that we have right now, we can have these conversations that we could talk about all kinds of things. And it doesn't have to be, like, extended for so long, like an hour or two, like a typical gaming stream. We could just take a half an hour or 45 minutes, just sit down, have a nice chat and stuff like that, So, but yeah, I really want to thank you all for taking time to check out this stream. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out the most recent video I did about the upcoming Tiny Dragons Treasure Trove giveaway live stream. That's going to be on October 29th at noon Mountain Time. The YouTube short I made does have all the details, so if you want to learn more, check out the short. And I think that stream's going to be a lot of fun. So, and if you're new to this channel and you enjoy what you see, consider liking and subscribing to Toastamac and clicking the bell icon. Not only does it help you stay up to date on the latest videos, but it also, it really helps me out too. It really helps the channel growth. Like, we actually gained a few new subs over the past few days. And the deal I have is, for every 100 subscribers we get, like if we get to 1,200 or 1,300 and so on, I would make a new inspiring autism story, which, for those who don't know about that, these are basically short documentaries of famous autistic individuals in terms of, like, where they got started, what challenges or obstacles they had to deal with, and where they are now. The journey that led them to where they are now. And those tend to be the biggest, most popular videos on the channel, but it's not really something I can make often because, of YouTube rules and, to make the channel worthy of, like, monetization, I gotta show more of my face. And with, with the inspiring autism stories, I can't do that. It's just a bunch of images that I can't even monetize because I was just pulling it from Google Images. So it's like there'll be numerous copyright issues if I monetize them. And I don't think I need to worry about copyright issues right now. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Next week we're gonna get back to the usual routine. So the month of October is gonna be a little different. I'm gonna try to add a couple more videos. Like this Sunday, Mom and I are gonna try to record the brownie video, the first one. So hopefully if we get that done, we'll have the first video on the first week of October, which will be October 7th. That's what we're aiming for. October 14th is the video where we're going to have talking about why ableism is bad and how to stop it. Then October 21st, if we get everything right, we should have another brownie video where it's more like a Halloween brownie. And then the 28th is going to be tips on like what to do for your autistic child during Halloween. Now, as to the matter of whether or not there's going to be a Halloween skit, we're going to have to see. Because, like, my younger brother Thomas has been going through a lot lately. If he has time to help make the skit, then great, that's awesome. But, you know, I don't want to set it in stone until I actually have all the footages I need. So, just keep that in mind. That's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching the stream, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. And until the next live stream, see you later. Bye.